Welcome, everyone. Another episode of Mind the Gap. As it looks, we're going to have maybe a few more this week, but I'll keep you all posted. Um, we had a little delay because there was a couple of misunderstandings, and Israel had to download the app first. But at least we made it. We're live. My guest tonight is someone who I just briefly met on Twitter. I have basically no idea at all where he stands on religion. Israel, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, and then tell us what you believe and why.
I'm Israel Brown. I live in California. I work for a newspaper. Um, what when you ask, it's weird when you ask me when you ask a lot of people what they believe, they can quickly rattle off a bunch of stuff. But I'm a person who's in the questioning phase of my life. So to ask me what I actually believe in, that's a short list. So I think that's where I think that would answer most questions. You ask me if I believe in religion, it would be that I don't disbelieve in it. I guess I could identify with an agnostic in that way. But, I also think,
Well, agnostic and atheism and theism aren't mutual exclusive. So you can still be an agnostic theist or an agnostic atheist.
well, in that case, you'd have to call me agnostic theist because I don't believe in atheism. I don't believe in that in the slightest.
That's kind of bit weird to say that. Don't
Yeah,
believe
I know, right?
in atheism. There's no belief in atheism. Atheism is
Well,
the
yeah,
lack of
there's
a belief.
no,
No,
it's
there
the
isn't.
belief that you're right in your lack of belief.
No, it's
Have you
just
heard
that
atheists? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've been an atheist all my life, so I think that I'm fairly qualified in telling you what an atheist is. An atheist is someone who thinks that the God claims haven't met their burden of proof. That's it. There's nothing else to it.
Well, that's pretty much agnostic, also, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
can be
See, the
agnostic. It
atheists
can
are
be agnostic, and for certain gods, you can be a Gnostic atheist. That's not a problem.
yeah. Well, the atheists I've dealt with before, um, that you sound a little different in your definition. They're sure there's no God, not any type of God. They're like Richard Dawkins, but you're not like
Richard
Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins doesn't say there is no God. Richard
No, he
Dawkins,
doesn't. He says kind of like you, but he also likes to pretend he also likes to talk about a spaghetti monster and stupid ass shit. His
well,
arguments are to ridicule people who think there is a God, who actually believe who've been raised to believe that, yeah, there's a man in the sky. And yeah,
okay.
it's weird to say it out loud, but people really believe that. Now the thing is, for people like me and you, in a little bit, the one thing we have in common is, yeah, we don't believe you. We don't believe in your God that you're telling us about. And the atheists that I knew before, they wouldn't believe in any God that you tell them about. They like, hey man, Big Bang and then blackness.
Big Bang has nothing to do with atheism. I don't know what atheist you've been talking to, but
So how does that?
either you misunderstood, because the Big Bang has no bearing on whether someone is an atheist. I mean, the Big Bang could be wrong,
Yeah.
and most atheists would still be atheists because it doesn't matter if the Big Bang is correct. It's a model. It's currently the best model we have for the origin of the universe. There is not there's not been proposed a better model,
Maybe there
uh,
have been. They've
and
just been
and and
ignored
there's and there's evidence to back it up. So
to back up what?
um, to back up the Big Bang,
What
we have
evidence?
we have cosmic background radiation. We have
Oh yeah.
redshift.
Wait.
So
Stop right there. Stop with the cosmic.
So
No, cosmic background radiation. Is that where like what like we look out and we just see like this ancient radiation deep in space that's spreading out? Is that what you're talking about?
um,
Or is that something
in
different?
in the old days when you had television and it was broadcasted and you had an antenna on your house, you could get snow between the channels. The
Mm-hmm.
snow you see between the channels is the cosmic background radiation, pretty much. That's a leftover remnant of the Big Bang, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's
It's
that's
spreading out in
so
all
that's
directions.
that's that's detectable, that's measurable, and we also have the redshift to see that the universe is still expanding. So yeah, we have a
Well,
fairly good model.
what direction is the universe expanding in from our perspective?
Every direction.
Every direction around us from our perspective.
Yes, from
That's
our
interesting.
perspective, from every perspective, anywhere in the universe, it's in every direction. It is expanding. That is pretty much what expanding means.
Wait. From every perspective, anywhere in the universe, it's expanding at the same rate.
Yes,
How do you know that?
because they can measure it.
Well, I can understand measuring it from Earth, like, because, we're looking out from Earth and we look around us and everything's expanding in the universe in every direction
Yeah.
from us. Well,
Yes.
that would mean we're in the middle, man.
Well, I'm not qualified to talk about this because I'm not a physicist and I'm not a cosmologist. But it seems to be that pretty much everywhere where you are in the universe, it would be for you the center of the known universe.
Yeah, see, that's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Everything can't
I
be the
can, I can,
center.
I can, I can, I can pretty much explain this. If you stand on a flat plane and you look around you,
I do that
you,
every day.
yes, you stand exactly in the middle of what's visible to you. Does that make sense?
That's what we're doing. Oh, no, no. Okay, I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is, yeah, yeah, okay. No, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Wherever I
we
am, I
can't,
got
we
the
can't,
light.
we
Okay.
can't see the boundaries of the known
Yeah.
universe. So we're pretty much in the center wherever you are in the known universe.
Okay, I get it.
So
Yeah, there's no. Okay, so we say we don't see a boundary. We just know that where we are, everything's
mhm.
spreading away, and that's
Yes,
the conclusion. Okay, that
it
makes sense.
it also means that we can't be certain about the real center of the universe because we don't have the boundaries. And that's another thing that is made in at least in the Christian God claim that we are the center of the universe. And
Yeah, it
so,
is. No, that's a
but
big deal, and that's a big
but I'm
distinction for us to determine whether or not we are or not.
but I'm a little bit more curious. Why do you think that it's more sensible to believe that a God exists? What's at
Oh,
least
I
has
think
you for now has you convinced that a God exists?
I think the main thing is, and let's not get caught up on what type of God we're talking about, whether it's Buddha or the Christian God. Let's not get caught up on that. Let's just stick with the creator thing, right?
I don't know. I
Um,
I think it's I
well, I
think
mean,
it's important. I mean, if you can't define the God that you believe in,
well, I can
then
define my
the,
God. My God doesn't pay attention to us like people think they do, like people think he does. My God doesn't make a distinction between whether we're dead or alive because God can see us anyway. So the trivialities that we go through in our lives on this planet or plane created by God, um, they don't they don't matter.
how did
You
you
know,
determine this?
I've been when I was younger, I was really into space and the universe and all that. And I went through a phase where I was reading the Bible, and I remember I can't remember exactly what passage or whether or which Bible to be sure, but there's a passage that said basically each person's relationship with God is between them and God. That's a paraphrase, obviously. And that's one that really, really stuck with me. I know it's in the Old Testament. And so then I just started to think, yeah, I'll have my God, my God. And that's how I kind of, I guess that's kind of how I decided that in my head, whether or not I don't believe in the gods I've been told about, but I do believe there is some type of God.
But isn't that pretty much making up a god? I mean, that's to
Well,
me
isn't
that's
that what they pretty much have done with all these other gods? They just made them the fuck up. So what? I can't make up a God to myself. It's not like I'm preaching this, my God. You asked me. I don't talk about my this. You
no.
might be
But
the first person I've
what
ever told this to.
what would be the use of making up a god? I mean, then by definition,
Um,
he's not real. If you make him up, he's not real. So what would be the use?
to make money, man. Are you kidding me? If I get you believing in my God and then you're gonna toss me some dough, I'm gonna get me some money. Get your family giving me some money. So making up a God is a genius idea, especially if you can get people to buy into it.
And that's your main reason.
No, no, no. My main reason is I can. This is for me. I'm giving you my own
Well,
personal
I was asking. Well,
route.
I was asking about you. The first thing you come up with is to make money.
No, you said why would someone make up a religion, right? That's why people make up religions. That's why people make up gods.
I think
Now,
I asked
for me,
why would you make him up?
oh
But
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Now, for me, the reason I made up my own God, um, well, I didn't really make him up. He is based on the Christian God because that's most of the reading I've done. It's just I don't believe their. I just don't agree with their stories. I don't. While I agree with them that there's a God, I don't agree with what they're telling me about him. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. So,
So,
so while I,
so far, I have to be honest. I'm always honest. So far, nothing makes sense because
well,
the, I would have no use in something that I make up. I
well, you
mean,
make up, but well, think about it. Someone decided that despite the evidence, the planet, the animals, human beings, and how different we are from everything else, that there's no God. And that's what I was going to ask you. So how do you believe we got here then? You said, I mean, you don't believe in the Big Bang, or you do believe in the Big Bang? I mean, how do you think
I
this?
think it's the best model we currently have.
It's ridiculous, but from its inception. But okay, so
It's
that's what I
not
was saying. It's
it's
like,
not ridiculous.
okay, how did it start
I don't.
again?
We don't know how it started because we can't look past Planck time.
But there's an old ass book that says God said, "Let there be light," and there was. Now there's an explanation.
Yeah, which was totally
But
wrong.
what
Which
you
was
like?
total which was totally wrong, and we already established that that was
How does that
totally
wait?
wrong
We,
because
how?
according to the current model and the current knowledge,
Uh-huh.
things didn't happen in that sequence, and the first thing to be there wasn't light.
Was gravity or something? Well, is that what you're saying?
No, it was particles. It was atoms.
Atoms. Atoms of what? Light atoms?
Light aren't
What I
atoms.
Now, from what I understand of the Big Bang, is that there was nothing, just like the Bible starts, right?
No, that's
And then
not
there
the
was
Big
light.
Bang. There what that's not the Big Bang. The
So
Big
what
Bang
is the
doesn't
Big
say
Bang?
Big Bang started from a singularity.
Oh, so there's already something that came from somewhere, and it was all compressed.
I always explain this with my little money analogy.
Uh-huh.
Let's say you have a bank account
Yeah.
and you can draw money from your bank account and you can make an overdraft.
Hmm.
Let's say you make an overdraft of $10 and now you have $10 in your pocket and you have a $10 overdraft in your bank. How much money do you have?
Well, now you're talking about finances.
No, no, no. I'm talking about an analogy.
Well, I
How
have
much money?
$10 because I can pay the bank back whenever the hell I feel like it, or not pay them at all. So I do have $10. But if you want to talk about what are my current finances, they're zero.
Is wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. This is just basic arithmetic. You owe the bank $10. You have $10 in your pocket.
Uh-huh.
How much money do you actually have?
Actually have a $10 bill in my pocket that I can go buy a
No, you
candy bar
don't.
with. I
No,
don't
you
have the
don't.
$10 bill in my pocket. You just said I had it.
No, you owe $10 and you
So
have
what? Wait,
$10.
wait. So all
Okay,
you're not in debt. Wait, wait. You're
that's
not in debt.
basically that's basically having no money.
That it depends on how you look at it. Because if I decide that I'm not going to pay the bank, I've got $10 to go spend. I mean, the
Okay,
analogy doesn't make sense.
let's say if you spend it, how are you going to pay the bank?
How did I get the $10 in the first place, and how did I open the bank
By
account? I mean,
making an overdraft on your bank account.
well, I had to put money in the bank to open the bank account, right? You don't open a bank account with zero money.
What the example I gave you is you have a bank account. You take out a $10 overdraft on your bank account.
Yeah, and now I've got $10.
No, you
I
don't.
have it in my hand, a
See,
ten
that's the
dollar bill,
problem.
right?
That's the problem with the US, and that's why so many people are in debt
Oh
because
yeah, yeah, no, I understand.
you don't understand basic arithmetic.
No,
Because
no, I don't understand.
if you don't get any more money, you still owe the bank $10, right?
So what? What does that do? What does that mean? Who
Okay, so
cares? I owe
you
the bank $10. They're gonna come after me?
okay, bad analogy. Apparently,
Yes, that's all I'm saying. The analogy is terrible. If you wanted to talk about,
you think stealing is right. That's what
I've
I wanted to
stolen it
point out.
now.
Was
I've
it
become a thief.
yours?
In your analogy,
Was
I'm a thief now.
Is it your money if you take out an overdraft of $10?
If the bank gives it to an overdraft is like a small loan. So yeah,
If you're not going to pay it back, how is it a loan?
what do you? All right, people take out loans all the time. No bank.
You just said I'm not going to pay it back. I'm going to buy stuff. And I
Well,
said,
no,
what
that
if
was
you
just
can't?
to let you know that the $10 in my hand is 10
The
real
ten
dollars that
dollars
I can
in
go
your
spend.
hand, you need to pay back the bank.
If I
That's
want
what
to
I
have a
said.
good
I
credit,
said
if I want to have a,
if you don't get any more money, how much money do you have?
I have $10 in my hand. Do you get that part of it?
Which you owe the bank. So now
Yeah, yeah. And we know that everyone, right,
either
right.
you steal it and don't pay it back,
Uh-huh.
or you pay back the bank, in which
And
case
this
you
has
have
what to
nothing.
do with the Big Bang exactly? And the singularity that was there?
What I'm saying is okay.
No, because look, let me just,
I'll use the science instead. Do you
okay.
know
But first, before you
do you
go to the
wait?
science,
Can you please let me finish if you want to learn something?
well, don't change the subject yet. Don't
Do
change the
you know
subject yet. Just,
the actual energy uh, count of the universe?
and you do?
Hmm.
'Cause no, I don't. But you do. You're
Yes.
claiming to know all the energy in the universe, the dark
No,
energy, the red energy.
I'm not claiming anything. I'm claiming what science has already
So
established.
someone told you that this is what it is, and now you're
No,
claiming
not
it as
someone
though it's
told
your
me.
own.
Oh,
You read it?
we're going into all kinds of rabbit holes, so you don't understand how
No, I'm
science
just
works
wondering.
either.
Okay, okay. So are you a scientist?
I'm not a scientist, but I
Okay,
understand
okay.
how
I know,
science
but
works.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you understand the scientific method, and the rest of us don't?
You don't?
I don't.
No, because the first sentence that comes out of your mouth is someone told you.
Yeah, I said that to you.
When when I make a statement about what science currently knows, that's the
Hmm.
dumbest thing to say.
Really?
Yes,
Because you're not the scientist. You can do the
because
experiments.
that makes it perfectly clear that you have no clue how the scientific method works.
Well, then you made a conclusion based on some very limited information. The fact of the matter is, I have a general understanding of how science works, but I'm not a scientist. And so when you start throwing out stuff like, "Oh, we measured the background radiation," we didn't do shit. You read or were told by someone who did it,
We didn't
and
do
you
shit.
believe it,
We didn't
right?
do
You
shit.
believe it.
So,
You just don't
so
do
the
it.
science that the people are putting forward that is peer reviewed, that isn't shit.
I'm not saying that. Some
Yes,
of
you
it is.
did.
Some of it is garbage. We all know that. But you can't sit here and just say that because I don't believe in one
So you
aspect
have
of
no clue how the scientific method works.
I have no clue.
What happens to bullshit in the scientific method?
Observe, report, test.
What happens to
Observe,
bullshit? What
report.
happens to bullshit?
Oh, it should get funneled out. I mean, you because you constantly are, anything that you put forward and say, okay, when I drop my lighter, when I let go of my lighter in there, it falls to the ground, right? Everybody can do that experiment every day, and it will always happen. We all know this now, but we can all do it ourselves. We don't have to trust anyone to tell us that, right?
But we can't do that with calculations and other observations.
No, we can, but you have to understand the calculations. All right, we're looking up at celestial objects that have been for a long.
I don't know if it's me, but you're dropping off.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. A phone call came through. So we're looking at celestial objects that are there, and then we're reporting on what they do based on our observations. Like this does that. We don't know why it happens. We don't know what the hell really is going on, but we're trying to figure it out by staring at the shit and then adding math. Well, it does this, so this math fits what it's doing. That's how that works. The
No,
math
that's
didn't come.
that's
The
that's
math.
that's not how it works, not by a long shot. But I'm already getting to the point that I think we should abandon known science because you don't have the faintest clue how it works.
Oh,
You
well,
don't
that's
have the
nice.
faintest you don't have the faintest clue that there's this thing called Google, so you can actually Google this stuff.
Oh, I could work for
Um,
Google on an internet machine, and then I could find all my answers. Oh, I did not know that.
you didn't? It's called scholar.google.com.
Wait, what's the website? Scholar?
It's scholar.google.com. It's
Uh-huh.
a separate search engine that rules out the bullshit stuff like
Ah.
religion and gods and other kinds of woo.
Wait. Scholar.google. I'm gonna check that out. That sounds pretty interesting now that you
Yes, that'll give you scientific results
yeah. But I mean
instead
just
of
like any
nonsense.
American, but just like any American, I might general public education. And yeah, my public education agrees with you.
Yeah, the general education in America is terrible. You rank number 32 on the word list.
There's like 700 countries, man.
You rank 32.
Yeah, and there's like 700 countries.
Yes. Well,
So that's pretty bad.
I'm in Holland. I'm in the top five. So 32 is pretty bad.
Yeah, well, we could blow Holland the fuck off the map if we wanted to.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't get so happy about your education. Ain't gonna stop a bomb if Trump decides to come after you assholes and your chocolate.
Well, I'm pretty sure that he can't do that.
No, he can't
And
because
and
other Americans wouldn't allow it.
yeah, and you're pretty sure that nothing would happen here.
Well, Holland?
That we don't have allies and that Trump would be in severe trouble because his White House wouldn't last long.
Well, who is
But
Holland allied with anyway?
let's get to something that at least looks like we're talking to someone with a working brain because so
Now
far
my
you
brain doesn't
haven't
work.
you
You're just
haven't you
loading
haven't
missiles.
everything you have done is pretty much show your ignorance. So let's get back to the God thing. So
Okay.
you make up a God, which is then pretty much nothing more than just an imaginary friend.
Um,
And
no,
this is
not an
and this is
imaginary.
beneficial. And this is beneficial how?
Well, there's the idea that even if no one sees you, you can't just, even if no human sees you, you can't just be a cunt. You're supposed to be nice to people. You're supposed to do things and not look for, some sort of validation.
Google Holland. That might help.
Google it for what? Why?
Why? Because
Yeah,
because approximately 80% of the Dutch population is atheist. We're
really?
one of the happiest people on the planet.
80%
We have the happiest children on the planet. We
But
have
you guys are,
we have a
you
top
guys are
five
white.
education. We have a top five education,
How many
and
black people are in Holland?
we're one of the most tolerant people on the planet.
Can you count the black people in Holland on one hand?
No, not by a
There's
long
more than
shot.
that.
Yeah.
No, I've heard some stuff like that.
You want to know what my best friend is? He's a Syrian refugee, and there are an awful lot of them here. People who can't get into the U.S., for instance.
And is Holland one of the countries that are like getting too many refugees, and they're like, hey, we got to back this up, or they're just
No, we're not. No, we're not getting too many. Why would we get too many?
Yeah, well, I think it was like there were some countries that were saying, was it Germany? I think was one of them saying we've got too many.
My friend is making a great contribution to the community. So I don't see why we could even have too many
Well,
people
okay,
like
this is all
that.
right. This is a good, all right. This is actually good. Okay, so all right, so you're saying like in your country, you could take plenty of people, but do you think that you could get to a point where okay, we've taken on like I don't know, whatever number, we've taken on 10 million refugees or whatever, and now the regular citizens can't get jobs. Do you think that would be possible, or do you think that that's something that's just not?
Oh, that could be possible. I think stupid people wouldn't get a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, but the thing is, though,
And for what I've seen, the most people that are come here, the Syrian refugees, are better educated than the average American. So
oh well, that happens, but we have a strong
we're a lot more densely populated than the United States. So maybe you guys should take on a few of them and maybe elevate your country to a better level.
Well, we pretty much can destroy any other country. So as far as being elevated to levels, we're not really worried about that so much. But we are worried about our freedom and our space. We don't like being crowded up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I live in
Sorry.
California, man. We don't like that.
Sorry.
We don't like being smashed up
You don't even have freedom where you live. What are
Yeah,
you
we
worried about?
think we
What are
do
you
though.
worried about? What are you
We
worried
think
about?
we think we have freedom,
Your
and that's pretty much.
your country's run by a bunch of ignorant pricks who think that there's a magic guy in the sky, who think the world is 6,000 years old. Come on.
Yeah, but we got flushing toilets, running
You're
water, and we can watch Netflix.
Yeah, running water. Oh, what was it?
Huh?
Flint? Have you heard of
Yeah,
it?
Michigan. Oh, dude. And now you guys
Yeah.
think about this stuff. Think about that.
It's not only in Flint. I mean, there are a lot of places in the US where you can't drink the water that comes out of the tap.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And I think,
That's something we managed here in Holland to do. Our water is safe.
yeah, but you guys are much smaller. You're a tiny little fucking nothing of a country, man. We're gigantic. I mean, that's a lot of
Yeah.
infrastructure to put together,
Yeah,
man. Considering,
you don't have any money at all. You're so poor,
well,
right?
and Americans, that's why we're all in debt because we work
Here's
on
a
our
tip.
country.
Here's a tip. You all the money you put into your military, you got a budget that is bigger than the world combined.
Yeah, I know.
How about putting some of that towards the people that actually live in the country? How about putting that towards the people who are actually starving and people who are dying because they can't pay their medical bills? Stuff that doesn't happen here.
Well,
People here don't go bankrupt when they go ill.
Yeah, no, that is,
That's the United States, because
yeah,
you care about everyone except when it's going to cost you money. Then fuck them, right?
that's capitalism, man, and America's
No,
capitalism
that's
is
not
horrible.
capital. That's not capitalism. That's assholeism.
Well, no, I mean, hey, man, capitalism, you put a price on everything. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah. Until
I
it hits you, and then it's going to be a problem, right?
oh, are you kidding me? I'm not rich. I work. I mean, I live in Berkeley, man. It's expensive as hell out here for everything. So yeah, I mean, and there's homeless all over the fuck. You would not believe the homeless all over the
Yeah.
streets everywhere. It's
Yeah.
it's rough out here, and a lot of these homeless people have fucking jobs.
Hmm.
It's not. This isn't a this out here, especially in California. This is not
Well,
a.
so far, what we so far have established that you lack compassion, you lack a knowledge of the scientific method, and you created for yourself a magic guy, a
Let's
magic
talk about my lack of
imaginary friend.
compassion. Let's talk about my lack of compassion.
Let's talk about your
No,
imaginary
once
god,
again.
because that's
Oh, okay.
what we wanted to talk about. I'd asked you, what do you believe and why?
Okay.
And it
Well,
still
yeah.
baffles me. It still baffles me that you just say, I made him up,
Um. Well, I mean, I didn't make him up because I wouldn't have
and
known.
that's somehow to you that's beneficial. I'd like to know how that's beneficial.
Well, what we're talking about here is when you talk about God, I was taught that there were gods. I never, just like I was taught the world is a circle, a ball, just like I was taught everything. I didn't just, as a little kid, say, hey, there must be someone up there looking at me. I was told God, Jesus, and Santa Claus. They could see me whenever the fuck they want. So when you hear stuff like this all your life, some of it starts to get ridiculous. And sometimes you can, and when I was 13, I described myself as an atheist. My sister did the same thing. She's still an atheist to this day. And I grew out of that.
What did atheist mean to you back then? Because we
Well,
all
no, just,
already established that now you don't have a clue what atheism means. So I'm
I love how
curious
you
about.
talk though. I love how you speak in absolutes. It's like you're like, how can I ask a question or say something that will offend this person I'm talking to? That seems to be your strategy. But let's keep,
No, I
yeah,
reciprocate. I reciprocate. If a guest doesn't do that to me, I won't do it to a guest.
yeah. Well, I didn't think I insulted you. If I did, I missed it because I usually insult people on purpose, not by accident. All I'm saying is that we're talking about something like religion.
I already
Uh,
mentioned you lack compassion, right?
oh yeah, that's what I was wondering about. What about this? What's lack of compassion? What are you talking about? When did I display a lack of compassion? Because I feel like I am empathetic to other people and I do have compassion, but you're saying I don't. So I'm curious. I was curious as to what made you think that.
Made me think that.
Yeah, where do you cut we've talked for a few minutes and you said, "Hey, you've got a lack of compassion." What made you think that I have a lack of compassion?
Didn't you say you could easily bomb us?
Oh, oh, come on, man. That's trash talk. I mean, are you really think
Okay, then
that
stop trash
America
talking and be serious
Yeah.
for a minute, because I
Oh,
what I
okay.
was hoping for was a serious conversation and not trash talk. If I want to trash talk, there are a lot of people, a lot of scumbags I can talk to. I'm not
Okay, yeah. So
interested
I
in
mean,
that.
you don't think I would seriously want to bomb Holland, right? I
Well,
mean,
if you don't want to do that, then don't make it appear that that to you is maybe a good idea at some point.
no, it's not a good idea. It's something that could be done though. You could be bombed by America
Yeah.
because we have way more weapons than you people. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, it's not a
No, it's not
what,
that simple. It's not that simple. But go ahead. Let's talk about your imaginary friend and how that's beneficial.
well, my imaginary friend is no different than anyone else who has their imaginary god. The difference is they all get together and talk about their imaginary friend together. Where mine, you're the first person I even told about. So, I mean, that's the difference. You know, any man I believe including yourself, you're probably constantly thinking about the universe and where we came from and whether or not there's a God, you know.
Yeah,
And for
but
me, I decided,
I don't make shit up. That's the
for
difference
me, I
between
decided
me.
that there is a God, just like people say that there's a God, but I don't agree with what they say the God does. That's all. It's not it's not anything other than that. Now you say he's my imaginary friend, but not really. It's more of like he's God or it's God, and
We
you
still
know
haven't
when you've
got
been a
we
dick,
still haven't gotten to the
right?
beneficial part.
The beneficial part is you know when you've been a dick. You know how you're supposed to act. Now, if you run around life thinking, well, I can get away with this because no one saw me, I think that's short-sighted. And I think if you have a belief, if you are a person that believes there's a God, you would think that at some point, there's going to be some retribution, you
So
know?
basically, what you're saying is that you're pretty much an asshole and you need someone to control you.
I was, especially when I was younger. Now, that's a tough one to say because I believe that you don't need God to not be a dick. Um, but So no, it's not the thought that that God's watching me. That's why I stopped doing stuff. I stopped because I realized, there's a bigger picture to things. When you're young, you don't often think about, the people you're hurting or consequences. You only think about the rewards. As you get older, you can look back on that shit and be like, man, I can't believe I did that stuff. So you don't need a God for that. Um, and
Guess
I think a
what?
lot of people,
Guess what? I had parents for that.
yeah, yeah, me too. But like my parents don't know everything that I did. As soon as I moved out the house, they couldn't discipline me,
So
and
yet
I didn't.
they didn't teach you well. That's what you're saying. Because
No, they
if they taught you well, you wouldn't have any use for for acting like an asshole. Because you would know that you were doing something wrong and you might be hurting people, and there might be some consequences to that.
no. It's more of a
That's what I learned.
yeah. No, for me, my parents were very strict. My dad's I come from a military family, so everything was a rule. There was no just going to get anything out of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Everything was a ask a permission thing. So crime and punishment, we learned that very young. So it was more of, hey man, I'm away from my parents now. They can't stop me, type of thing. And my
What
parents
I
weren't religious. I think my dad. He doesn't. I think my dad. He doesn't believe. He doesn't believe in God. My grandfather's a preacher. Um, my dad doesn't describe himself as an atheist, but he certainly doesn't believe in God or the Bible. And so when me and him talk about it, he grew up in the church, with grandpa. And so he just, my dad thinks, oh, you're just such an idiot. There's no such thing as God and all this stuff. So, and we go through the same thing. It's like, so, and I'm like, you believe the universe just popped up out of nowhere? What are you thinking, old man? You're crazy. So yeah, we have these kind of discussions now and then. But see, my dad also likes Donald Trump. So
I still have to say that I still don't have a clue why some kind of made up fairy would be beneficial.
um, it would be beneficial to some people who feel like
Who
I
can't
don't know if they
think?
feel like this. There's some people who can't, yeah, people who can't just think for themselves and realize the shit that they're doing is not proper. They need a threat of a man in the
People
sky who will do something
people
to
like
you.
you.
When I was younger, you're damn straight. Well, God didn't get me on the right path. I really didn't believe in God again until, I don't know, what, 10 years ago or something. I went through a long, long 20-year period of my life, at least, where I didn't believe any of that shit, not in the slightest. Now I'm more and more agnostic.
I'm struggling with agnostic, because if you already admit that you make up your own God, and you already know that he doesn't exist because you made him up,
That's interesting. I mean, I know
that's not being agnostic.
it's not. What is it? Because see, like, I don't have a.
There are only two positions: either you believe that God exists or you don't, and we call that
But
theist or atheist.
so you are saying well, we have atheists, we have theists, we have Gnostics, we have agnostics. I mean, what are you talking about?
Gnostics and agnostics has nothing to do with whether or not you're an atheist or a theist.
Yeah, well, if you're talking, and
Knowledge is a subset of belief. Atheism and theism address belief.
yeah,
Gnosticism and agnosticism address knowledge. They're completely different, and they're not mutual exclusive.
no. Agnostic means you just don't know, man. You haven't made a decision one way or the
Yes,
other.
and you can be an agnostic atheist, and you can be an agnostic theist. I already explained this. I
Yeah,
don't
these
know why
weird
this is
sub definitions. Well, first you
why
just
this
said
is
you
so
either
hard.
believe in God. No. Well, first you said you either believe in God or you don't. Now you're saying, well, you kind of believe and don't, and you kind of believe and do. I mean,
You
these
already
sub
you
definitions.
already told us you don't believe in a God. You made one up.
That
Who
means
you
I do
know,
believe in a God.
who you for 100% sure no doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you
So
made
now,
some weird kind of God up because you don't seem to be capable of rational thinking and keeping yourself under control. So you made up this fairy that is supposed to watch you and to make you a better person.
no. No,
That's what I got out of it.
I don't know. Yeah, I get you. That's what you heard, but no, that's not what I
No,
heard.
that's not what I heard. That's what you told us.
Okay, well, that's what I told you. All right. So now what I'm saying is this: when I think about God, okay,
What God?
I don't know who the God is. I'm sort of formulating it through my mind, through my own experiences and what I've read. So when I'm thinking about this God being, that's what I think about.
You have read about a God. What have you read about a God?
I've read a lot about the Christian God and a little bit about the other gods. The other
So
gods, Zeus, you know, Saturn, Hades, Thor, those gods. Yeah, I've read about them too.
so which one do you follow?
Well, I read a lot of Marvel comics, and I did just finish watching Thor Ragnarok. The point is this: these gods, through human
I'm
history,
I'm
people have.
I'm I'm sorry. I'm having a brain fart now because a while ago I had some guy tell me, and he was 100% serious. He was doing research on dinosaurs, and he found this great episode of Scooby Doo that pretty much explained everything to him. I
Explain.
mean that if when you get your guard from a Marvel comic, that basically rules you out as a rational thinking human being. I don't
Really?
know. I don't
Because
know. I
I
don't
think
know.
didn't those ancient Greeks, they believe in those gods, right? That's where you got all your math and stuff that you like to talk about.
Ancient Greeks had
So
Marvel comics. I pretty much
they
doubt that.
created. Where do you think Thor came from? Marvel Comics didn't make up Thor. They didn't make up Odin. They didn't make up Zeus. Those are thousand-year-old gods from Greek myths.
Yes.
Did you not? Don't they teach you that in
Are they
college?
are they accurately portrayed?
I, how the hell do I know? They're gods. They're not. Do we even
Okay,
know if they're
so
real?
so you
Homer
believe
wrote
in
about the
comic?
gods
So you
too. You
believe?
know that, right? You know who Homer is? Not Homer Simpson, but Homer, the writer from. He wrote about Troy
Yeah,
and the Odyssey.
I'm pretty sure he didn't write about any Marvel comics or
Well, those Marvel Comics characters are named after those gods.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You're named after Israel. Does that mean you're an Israeli?
Yeah, well, that's a question I haven't had to answer since I was in third grade. But no, I'm not Israeli.
See?
And everyone named Israel doesn't necessarily have,
No.
have to be from
So
the Middle East.
if a Marvel character is named after a god, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's an accurate representation of that god, right? It's a Marvel comic. It's in the word.
Okay.
It's in the word comic.
So all right, touche. You won. Marvel is a comic book, and
Yeah.
you've won this point.
Yeah. Well, if people are getting their rules in life from Marvel comics, I mean, I'd need a couple of people more here to facepalm, because that's a level of stupidity that I've never seen before.
Yeah. So all right, now let me get this straight. At this point, I've told you that I made up my gods and I based it on Marvel Comics. That's what you're hearing, or are you just riffing on Marvel Comics for some reason?
That's what you said.
Okay, no, it's fine, man. I mean, sometimes we say things
you studied the Greek gods in Marvel Comics. I mean, I don't even know where to go with that.
I know you don't. So in Holland, it's funny. I was just thinking, what do they call you people? Like, what do you? What is your name of the people from Holland? Are you Swiss? What are you?
Dutch.
Dutch. There it is. I've never heard of any great Dutch comedians, and I can see why.
Yeah, I know. I can tell you why, because the average American is too stupid to learn another language, so you wouldn't understand them, right?
No, you're right.
Because I could now start talking in Dutch to you, and you wouldn't understand a word. I could start talking in German to you, and you wouldn't understand a word. And I can still do a little bit of French too. So, and that wouldn't get us anywhere either, because I'm pretty sure you're too ignorant to know any of those.
Well, let's think about that though. See, I'm from America where we speak English, my friend. Your airport speak English. In fact, English is spoke at every airport in the world. If your country
wants to buy oil, no, it's not.
If your country wants to buy some fucking oil,
no, it's not.
Using American dollars.
It's not.
America's
you go to any Arabic country, and you're going to fail pretty much with your English.
We don't even fly.
There are a lot of countries where they don't speak English.
The airport speaks English. Do you understand? Google it. Okay.
Well, English I have yet to come across speaking airports, but I will definitely Google it if airports can talk. I'll do that.
Pilots, and the
my cousin is a pilot. He flies a 747. So
and he speaks English at every airport that he flies into.
Actually, he has more than one language that he uses when he flies. But I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be aware of that.
Whatever, man. I mean, you.
Yeah,
you seem pretty sure about a lot of things.
When he's in German airspace, he has to sometimes answer to the people in German.
Well, that's I
know for a fact.
It's an anecdote, and it's based on hearsay.
No, it's not based on hearsay.
It is. So you heard him say that he.
You can Google this shit. It's not that hard. But
that's
I'm not
telling you to do.
Yeah,
Google it, and you'll realize it, right? Yeah, but anyway, I'm not here to compare countries and that my country's better than yours, because it is.
The only thing you have done so far is compare countries and telling me that yours is better than mine. So
now wait. Let's think about when this started.
It isn't.
It started with you talking about how great Holland is at education. Oh, we're number 5, right? That's what you said.
I said I'm in the top 5. I don't even know the actual number, but we're in the top 5.
All right, and you said we're 32, so you know exactly where you are.
Right? Yes, because I've seen the numbers, and I remember that the United States were number 32 because they have an abysmal educational system. And you know why they have an abysmal education system?
Why?
Because you have school boards that pretty much decide what's going to be taught in the schools. And the school boards are pretty much dumbass people who just happen to live in the particular town or maybe have some children in that particular school and have no clue what they're talking about, have no clue of basic science, yet they decide on the textbooks in that school.
Well, yeah, but
Which is the dumbest thing to do when you're talking about education. You should, if it comes to physics, you should have physicists who decide which books are going to be used. If you're going to have chemistry, you should have chemists decide on what's taught in the schools. The US doesn't
yeah,
have that. The US doesn't have that. They take the least qualified people. And what's even worse is that there's one state that pretty much decides what gets in the textbooks, which is Texas, which is overly religious and which has compromised US textbooks no end. And
really?
it's
Wait, I
still
never
and
heard of
it's
that.
still do. Oh, you haven't heard that there are textbooks that don't even teach that there was slavery in the
Oh
US.
no, no, yeah,
They
that I've
don't,
heard
you
of.
have textbooks that don't even teach what the Civil War was about.
I read some of those textbooks. I was raised on those textbooks. Yeah, a lot of us Americans, we get we when we turn 18 and we go to college, we start hearing shit that sounds crazy from our education from kindergarten through high school. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, for most Americans, we get out of high school and we start to really learn. I mean, that's just how it is.
No, you don't. But anyway, we're still something is still not quite working, and I don't know how to rephrase the question because I still don't see the benefit of an imaginary friend that you just make up.
Yeah, well, that's the
And
thing. I
then
think
and
that
then and then call it a god because it's nothing more than an imaginary friend. If he can't
no,
do
you see, that's the thing.
anything,
This is no,
if he
this is the
can't do
disagreement.
anything, and if he didn't create anything, he's to me he's not a god. He's just an imaginary, random imaginary friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear where you're going. I need to. You've made an association that is not right. I told you that my God doesn't do that, and you said, "Oh, this is your imaginary friend." I don't know why you would make me a friend with God. I don't understand that. Where you made that analogy, it's almost like that's what you would expect. If there's a God, he'd be your friend. But I'm telling you right now, Mr. Atheist, if there is a God, and he's the God that I think it is, he doesn't give a fuck about being your friend or my friend or anyone's friend.
Of
This
course
is
not,
based on me.
because your God would be a reflection of you, and you don't give a fuck about anyone.
Well, no, all right. Finally, you made a proper analysis of me. All right, but no, but not only that, I read the Old Testament, and the Old Testament is evidence of that. Okay, you read the story of Job, so the
Is
evidence is
evidence of
in the
what?
writing.
Is evidence of
What?
what?
That God doesn't give a fuck about us.
First of all, I have no reason to believe that the Old Testament is written about something that actually exists. I think
Well,
it's
that's
a
fine.
cool
Yeah.
it's a cool bunch of stories, but I mean, to me, it's worth no more than telling, well, hey, there are seven Harry Potter books, so Voldemort is evil.
Yeah,
Great.
but come on, man. The Bible's written by canon.
It doesn't in any way influence my life whether or not Voldemort is evil and whether or not he survived in the last book, yes or no. Uh,
I don't think that comparing the Bible to Harry Potter is the same thing because all right,
no, Harry
a lot of
Potter is a
these.
lot better and a lot more consistent. I'll give you that.
Oh, well, that was yeah. But the thing is, you have to understand the Bible was written long before these things, and a lot of these things, these movies have Jesus characters in them, but the Bible already covered that. The Bible, when you read the Bible, the stories cover every movie you've probably ever seen. There's a story like that in the Bible, written a long time ago. I mean, that's just facts. So I mean, when you compare the Bible to Harry Potter, it's like, dude, come on, man.
That's not just facts, it's just a story.
It is just a story, but it came out way long before Harry Potter, way long before Romeo and
Yeah,
Juliet.
most of the Old Testament came out way before the Old Testament.
Well, yeah, I know the Old Testament is a bunch of stories put together, but who knows? They might have left stuff out. Yes, we know that man, no matter what. See, this is the thing about the Bible that even religious people, I think they understand. I don't know. Even if those are the words of God, God didn't write it himself. People wrote it. Even the stories of Jesus, it wasn't written down until nearly 100 years later. I mean, these are things written by people. Man wrote the Bible. All right, we know this. God didn't. That's not written. That's not God's handwriting. So
Yeah,
there's a flaw.
makes you think, right? I mean, here's this all powerful, all knowing God, and he can do pretty much everything except for the things that humans can do. He
No,
can't.
he
He
doesn't give a
can't.
fuck about us.
He can't
So he
write.
doesn't.
He can't write. He can't. He can't make a book. He can't make clear rules. He can't
Well,
even be
apparently,
consistent. He can't even be consistent in his rules.
well, that's the thing. If men wrote the rules down,
And
if he,
he has attributes that make him logically impossible. So
well, impossible
yeah.
for us. God's impossible for us. We
No,
can't.
no, something cannot be A and not A at the same time. So if that's
Well, we can't be
something,
all
if
knowing.
that's if that's something that comes up in the Bible and it says he's A and not A at the same time, then he's
Well, what do
impossible.
you mean? I don't know what that means. What do you mean?
Well, he's omniscient, right? The God of the Bible,
Yeah, yeah. He's
and
omniscient
and
and omnipotent, right?
yeah. So and you know that those are mutually exclusive, right? You know that those can't be in the same entity, right?
Why not?
Because that's logically impossible.
Okay. Let me see if I know what these words mean. Omniscient means you just know everything that's going on.
Does he know the
Omnipotent means you
final?
can.
Does he know the final outcome?
Oh, well, he's supposed to. Yeah, that's supposed to be the whole thing, right? It's one of my biggest hangups with the Bible too. Don't get
So
me
he
wrong.
already knows the final outcome. That means
Yeah,
that
yeah.
when when we're approaching the final outcome, he can't change the final outcome anymore, right?
No, if he wanted to, apparently he
So
can. He just won't.
he's not omnipotent, which rules him
No, no.
out.
Well, that's one way to think of it, but the way I see it, and this is why I told you God doesn't give a fuck
Yeah,
about
that's how logic kills most gods.
logic. No, no. The thing is, if God doesn't give a fuck about us, then he's not going to change anything. He's just going to let the story play out.
That's a great cop out,
Why is that a cop out?
and
It's more scientific than anything.
and pretty dishonest. I mean,
Well, remember, men told us this.
now you've got this omnipotent God who you can only keep omnipotent when you add to that he doesn't want to change.
No, no, this is okay. I see. Now, imagine God like this,
It
a being.
hasn't. It doesn't have anything to do with what he wants or not. And for that
Yeah, he
matter,
doesn't want anything. So
he can't
he made a bunch of.
He can't want anything because he's a perfect being. Perfect beings
Oh, I see.
don't have a need for anything. Perfect beings don't have a need for a universe and earth and
Well, where
tiny
does it
little
say he's
people
perfect though? I don't
who
recall.
keep fucking up.
The
Oh,
Bible doesn't say he's perfect. The
sorry, I
Bible
thought you
doesn't
read.
say.
I thought you read the Bible. Sorry,
I did.
my
It
bad.
never says God's perfect. It says God's jealous. He's angry. He's vindictive, and that we're made in His image. Where did you? Why did you skip those parts of the Bible? There's nothing
Come
that says God's perfect. There's nothing. You
on.
read the story of Job, and that will tell you right there what kind of God that these people are worshiping. Okay, this is not a. It's not. I don't know where your impression is of the Christian God, but the Christian God is not cool. Why do you think the Christians have ran to Jesus and are trying to turn him into God? Because in the New Testament, Jesus is so nice. Everything is cool. You can slap the shit out of
Oh,
Jesus, but God,
Jesus,
God will destroy you.
Jesus is great. He loves slavery. He tells slaves to obey their masters,
Jesus is awesome.
especially the cruel ones.
Yeah,
Jesus said,
he says you'll be rewarded in the afterlife. Yeah.
Jesus is so nice that he said, I'm not coming here to bring peace, but to bring a sword."
Wait. Jesus said that? I'm not. I haven't read the.
As we already established, you haven't read the Bible.
No, I haven't read much of the New Testament. That's the one that kind of turned me off a little bit. But you're saying Jesus said, I didn't come. Wait, say that again?
Jesus to bring peace, and Jesus said you should
Oh,
hate
shit.
your father and your mother and your brother and your sister, or you could not be a follower of him.
That's in the New Testament? That
So
Jesus
yeah,
said that?
so yeah,
Hmm.
Jesus isn't that much better than the God of the Old Testament, but
Well, I didn't know
then
that. That's
again,
actually,
then
that's
again,
interesting.
it says that God is unchanging. So
Well, the thing is, I think for me, when I read the Old Testament, um, it was full of what God's going to do to you if you don't do the right thing. That's pretty much
yeah,
the whole Old
yeah, I
Testament. And in
think
the
I
New
think I
Testament,
think I think you would avoid the New Testament because Jesus also said you should sell your house and your possessions and give those to the poor.
yeah, I've heard
And
that one before. Yeah.
I think that's something that you wouldn't be able to do, right?
Are you going? Did you have you done that? Have you sold your house and possessions and given it to the poor?
No, I did something different. I dedicated part of my life to helping people.
Well, that's nice, but that's not what you just challenged me with. So until you're willing to do that, then don't come at me like that. That's
Hey,
crazy.
I'm not the one telling that there's a God, and I'm not the one reading the Bible and thinking there's something to it.
Well, I never
You
said I
do.
believed in Jesus. That's something you infer. You know the New Testament better than me. That's clear. And you just decided that I
I know the Old
believe in
Testament better
Jesus.
than you.
You may. I mean, I'm not a Bible
You
scholar.
started out this call that the creation story was accurate. So
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say it is accurate. I said it's a story. It's better than what you're talking about, which is there was a singularity that just fucking blew up and made people. Are you out of your fucking mind? That's stupid. Are
that
you
is
fucking
stupid.
serious? So the next thing
That
you're gonna
is
say is
that
free will
is
and evolution.
that is. I agree with you. That is one of the most stupid things that you've said so far. Because no one is saying
So
that.
this
Well,
is what
yeah,
you
creationist, and some very ignorant Christians keep saying that. But
well
yeah,
now set me
other than
straight.
that, no one
Set
is
me
saying
straight
that.
real quick then. Set me straight. How did
I
everything
already
begin?
have earlier in the talk.
And you're afraid to repeat it for what reason?
I don't think it's going to sink in. But it started out with a singularity, and the singularity expanded.
Yeah, there you go. That's enough of a stupid.
There was no explosion.
It just okay. It's all right. Whatever. And you know this because you were there.
Yeah, it's
Like
so
that's
stupid.
fucking
It's
dumb.
so
You
stupid.
realize how dumb that sounds?
Have you heard of Mentos? The mint?
Yeah, the fresh maker. Yeah, I think we've
Yeah.
all heard of Mentos, the fresh maker,
Have you ever dropped one of those in a bottle of Coke?
and seen it turn into fit. Yeah, I've also mixed fucking baking soda and vinegar. What are you talking about? I did that. I'm
Oh.
the fucking catalyst. Don't tell me to mix some shit up and pretend that's the Big Bang because I'm doing it. I'm mixing the shit. You're talking about something coming out of nowhere with no
So you're saying you're the intelligent designer. Stuff can't
No,
get in
I
touch
can't
with
be the
stuff.
intelligent designer because I did.
Different chemicals can't come into contact without any designer, without any uh, intelligent prime
In
mover.
a
That's
vacuum of space. Okay.
how do you know a vacuum of space?
All right. How do you know it's not a vacuum?
We don't know, but we're not making any claims. You are.
Oh. So what happens when you go? What's in space right now? I mean, people have been to the moon and shit. What's in between us and the moon? Air, oxygen,
So
hydrogen.
now
Is that shit between us and the moon?
so what you're saying is that in the singularity we already had a moon and an Earth and
I'm
space.
asking you what's in. Whoa, 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 wait. So you're all right. Wait.
We were
Did you
talking
say that
about
there was
we
something?
were talking about the Big Bang and about a singularity, and then from there you go to space and the moon.
Okay. So what you're saying is in this singularity, there's
You're
no
well aware
space.
that there's 9 billion years between those two events, right?
No, I love that number. That's beautiful. Why don't you count to 9 billion and then come back to me in 3 years when you get to that number? Look, all I'm saying is this. I'm just asking you a question. So you're saying when you say there's a singularity, you mean there was no outer space. There was just empty. Nothing. What was there? What was the singularity in? It was just
What
what was it
about
on?
we can't look past Planck time, don't you get?
We can't what?
If I put you in a room with four walls and a solid door, and I close the door, and I ask you what's on the other side of that wall, what are you going to tell me?
Did I just come out of the? Have I been to that other side of the wall? Because I would tell you it's another room if I've been there. But if I haven't
No.
been there, I'd be like, how the hell would I know?
See?
See what? So you're saying that you believe in this,
If we
even though you can explain.
if I tell you there's a point we can't look past, like
And I love
maybe
that we.
a wall or something, we can't look past that point. What's on the other side of the point is your question.
Where's the singularity you're talking about? Where did it originate?
As far as we're concerned here,
Yeah, because everything is spanning from us. But we
see,
refuse to believe that, right?
you've learned something.
Yeah, yeah. But we refuse to believe that because the universe is infinite, right? That's a real number to you. That's a real thing to you, right? Infinity.
No, the universe isn't infinite.
Okay.
Who
All
told
right.
you that?
No, no, I'm just trying to, you know what? That's my fault. I was assuming you believe something and
Yeah,
you don't. So, yeah.
you split up the word assume before, right?
Is it to make an ass out of what? Me and you?
Yeah, you and me, but I guess your spelling would be off as well.
Yeah. Well, you're from
So
Holland, so I'm sure you're like super smart, especially compared to
hey,
me. I mean, I'm just an American.
I can talk in your language and still sound smarter than you are.
Really? That's pretty good, man.
Want to change this about and start doing this in Dutch and see who's looking more
Uh,
intelligent?
that's not a bad proposition, but I'm American and we speak English. We don't speak lesser
Nou, ik heb er
languages.
helemaal geen probleem mee om gewoon in het Nederlands te praten. En als jij denkt dat je me kunt verstaan en als jij denkt dat je antwoord kunt geven, is het helemaal geen probleem.
Yeah, now try coming out here to America speaking like that and selling anything to anybody.
Oh, I could sell stuff to someone.
Well, that's because America lets anyone in. So I'm sure you'll find some Dutch people living here,
There,
but that would be your
there are a couple of
because
Amish who would pretty much
Amish,
get
yeah,
the
the
gist of
Amish.
what I'm saying.
No, no, the Amish, you gotta love them, man. They, you know, and I don't know a lot about them, just the stuff that I've seen on TV. But it's like they're still doing that hard work. And aren't Amish religious though? Aren't they doing it for God?
They have some version of the Christian God just like you do.
Yeah, yeah. Just like a lot of people, they made up their own God. So yeah, they got their own God of hard work. So, okay. And so, do you think their God makes them a bad people? Because from what I understand, they're good people. So how? So, and if their God, their made up God, has them living in that way, how can that be bad?
I
Of course,
don't
I don't
get your
use
point.
my.
I don't get your point because I'm not talking to Amish people. I'm talking to you.
Well, for me, I don't use God
And
to
here
make me a good
and
person.
here's the thing.
That's what
Here's the
you. That's
thing.
that's something that you
Assuming
assumed.
stuff about people who aren't here. Um, yeah, I don't see a point. See, when I asked you for a picture, you sent me a picture of a judge.
Yeah, that's currently something that's going on in my life.
You wanted a woman to represent you.
No, no, I wanted
Um,
people to wonder who that woman was, look her up,
yeah.
and realize the bad things she's doing. Because God's not going to do it for me.
Well, at this point, I'm not quite convinced that this woman is worse than you are, but maybe we'll get to that at some point.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you can have a low opinion of me. I'm not sure why you would, but I've listened to your show, so I kind of understand where you're coming from. I think you might want me to get angry, but
No.
I mean, I don't
What
know.
I would like you to do is give some honest questions, because I think that you're just a Poe. I
Oh,
think
not
that
again, because your friend called me that, and he took forever
no,
to even tell me what it meant.
I
Like,
didn't even see that conversation.
oh man, he kept telling me, and I looked it up.
I saw one tweet, and I asked you if you were up for a conversation, and then I muted the
Yeah.
conversation and refreshed my screen, so I don't
Oh,
have a
okay.
clue
No,
what
yeah.
you
So
talked about.
this guy kept saying you're a Poe, and so I Googled it, and it really was just telling me about Edgar
Well,
Allan Poe, and I was like, that doesn't.
are we supposed to think of an adult who invents an imaginary friend to keep him straight,
Well, yeah, but see, that's where we're going
and
back.
then call it a god, and then tell us some bogus story about that he read the Bible, which he obviously hasn't,
Oh,
and
time out.
just picks and
Hold on.
chooses
No,
the
you
stuff
need to chill out
out of this
because you
Bible
just no,
that
you
he
just
wants
called
to
me a
match
liar.
up his
Hold on. You
imaginary
just
friend
called me
with.
a liar. Okay, you just called me a liar. That's not fucking funny.
I didn't call you a
You
liar.
said that I claim to
I
write the
called you a
I
Poe.
claim to have read the Bible, and I obviously didn't, which makes me a liar. I haven't lied to you. There's no reason for you to call me a liar. I haven't called you a
I
liar.
already corrected you on stuff in the Bible, so either
So that
you
makes me a
haven't
liar?
either you haven't read it,
No,
or you
that's the
haven't
problem.
bothered
No, the
to read
problem
it
is this.
properly.
No, the problem is this. See, I had no problem being polite with you. Never called you a liar. Never even said anything about what you said was false. Yet you're going to call me a liar. You're an asshole.
Sorry, you dropped off. Can you repeat that? Are you still here? Hello?
I can't really hear you. Wait, what is that?
I can hear you.
I think we're breaking up. So, wait, are you there? Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounded like it went dead or something for a minute.
Yeah, your sound
Yeah,
went
no,
off
no, seriously
for a
though, yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I think that you calling me a liar makes you an asshole. That's not cool, man. Because I did read it, man. Just because I don't remember it, I only read it once and didn't study it, and and you know it better than me doesn't mean I'm lying to you. So I think that that's pretty fucked up that you call me a liar. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I told you that you had the wrong impression about what the Big Bang was, and you still keep repeating that. So that either makes you a liar,
Well, I actually straightened it.
or someone who isn't interested in what's actually true.
No, no, I thought you told me what you think it is, and I told you I think
I
that's
didn't
fucking
tell you
stupid.
what I think it is. I told you what mainstream science has to say about the facts.
Okay, and you agree with that, right?
Uh, no,
Oh, well then tell me what you think.
I accept mainstream science. I accept the fact that the Big Bang is currently the best model we have until someone comes up with a better model. Because
Okay.
for now, the Big Bang actually fits the evidence. But you don't care about evidence, and you don't care about going to look if it fits the evidence, because all you do is say, "Oh, well, those are just stories." And those are
Well,
just
they
shit
are, man, because
that's just shit they come up with in order to have this bogus theory. That's how you think science works.
well, no, no, that's not how science works. What I'm saying,
You already
no,
said that that's how science works at the beginning. I mean, people can go back to the
yeah,
beginning
they'll
of
go
this
back and
talk.
listen. And what I said is observe, report, and test. That's how science works. What the fuck is
Yeah,
that so hard to? All right, no, no, it's seriously this. All right.
it's not only that. That's an awful poor representation of the scientific method, but
Are you
For now, I think that's complicated enough to just stick with for the moment.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you were saying that um, you don't necessarily believe in the Big Bang, but it's the best we have.
That's not what I
Do you have
said.
any?
That's
Well,
not
then
what I
what are
said.
you saying? Do you believe in it or not? Because
I
you have to
said
believe in it
I
if you didn't see it
said
happen.
I said that I accept the current findings of science as being the best model we currently have.
So
What's
you
hard
don't
about
have
that?
any opinion of your own, though. So you have no opinion of your own. You're just accepting what you're told.
Here's the thing. What use is an opinion?
You're right. What use is it?
What use is an opinion if you have facts?
What facts do you actually have? You have the fact, Big Bang, a singularity, as you say, is a fact.
We already established my best friend is a Syrian refugee, someone who can't get into the United States because he's supposedly a terrorist. Well,
And
I
so
have the
he
facts.
believes
I
in
have the
singularity
facts.
also.
I have the facts because I come across quite a bit of the Syrian community here in Holland, and they're all very nice people and decent people. And I have to say that so far, all that I've met so far are a lot more decent than you are, and
Oh, they must be
a lot more compassionate than you are, and
because they would need.
a lot more interested in facts than you are.
And what facts are you? What facts have you even put forth? Though I don't understand what facts you put forth.
Why would I need to put forth facts if my initial question is, what do you believe and why?
Oh, okay.
Why would I need to prevent facts in order for you to be able to answer that question?
I see. What? Okay, so that's what you're talking about.
Because all we've gone through so far is your obvious rejection of the scientific method and your obvious rejection of the current findings of modern science.
What are you talking about?
And yet you made up this imaginary friend
What rejection?
that is supposed to keep you straight, because otherwise you'd be an asshole all the time. Now you're just an asshole some of the time.
No, I don't think I.
Those are your words, by the way, not mine.
Yeah, but I don't think I thought I clarified that a little by saying that you made a you
So
made the
if
association
so
that
so
because
pretty
you
much
believe in a
so
God.
pretty much that's the only part of the why question we've come across so far, is that if you don't have an imaginary friend, then you'd be a complete asshole,
Yeah, no, that yeah. See, that's the
because
problem. Like,
you'd have no one to watch over you, and no one to maybe answer to, and to have your life corrected in some way. Although I think that if you make up your own God, you can make up your own rules as well. So I'm not sure how much of a better person that would make you,
yeah, yeah. All right.
because your God
I
is
think
still
this
bound
is.
by your rules and not by anyone else's rules.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear where you're going with that. But I think what you're not understanding is I'm not a religious person like that. I think about the possibility of there being God and what that God would be like. But that's not my friend. I don't pray. He doesn't watch over me. I told you, he doesn't give a fuck. That's my impression of God from what I've read and haven't even met him.
What's the use of having a God like that?
Well, to wonder what the fuck he would actually want with us, to why we're here then. If he doesn't want to take care of us, if he doesn't have any favorites, if he's not going to do shit, if he's just going to sit around, why the fuck did he make us, right? Well, that's a simple one, man, to watch. All right, it's not that difficult. It doesn't take a small leap.
How can a character that you make up by yourself in your
No, no, no.
brain
See, now,
create
again,
anything?
again, he's based on the Christian God. I already told you this. He's based on the old biblical stories I read. He's based on the story of
Now
Job.
he's either
He's
the
based on
Christian
Sodom and
God.
Gomorrah.
He's either the Christian God or he's not. If he's
Well,
not,
but no,
then
no,
you
no, that's fine. No,
if
he
he's
can be that.
not, then you made him up, and you still think that he created anything?
No, it would be
What?
more like this. All right, look,
Okay,
look.
so
This,
when I make up a fictional character, how can this character create anything?
no, no, no. This is the better way to do it. This is my interpretation of the Christian God.
Why would I care what your interpretation of the
You
Christian
asked,
God is?
you're the one that asked me. You're the one that keeps asking it, and that's what I'm telling you. I didn't come and say, "Hey, I want to tell you what I think my God is." I never
You
said
can't
that.
you can't give you can't give you can't even you're not even qualified to give an interpretation of the Christian God, because first of all, you've read the Old Testament and forgot pretty much most of the important parts of it, and you haven't
Whoa,
read
whoa, what
and you
part did
haven't
you? All
read
right, tell me
and
the
you
important part
haven't
of the
read
Old
and you
Testament that I
haven't read
missed.
and you haven't read this the New Testament
Yeah,
at
yeah. Well,
all.
look,
You
I didn't
just
say it all.
you
No,
just
no, time
skimmed
out,
over a
time out.
couple of you just skimmed
Tell
over a
me.
couple of parts, so you don't have a clue what the Christian God is about. So
No, you were talking.
why would I care
Yeah.
about an interpretation about a God you're not even aware of?
Ask yourself that. You're the one that's asking me the question. But the point is, what what important parts of the Old Testament did I miss? Because I don't recall you saying that before now. So go ahead and enlighten me. I mean, you're so smart. I mean, you're from Holland. You guys are in the top five.
We already came across a couple of points. I'm not going back to those.
Well, why
You
not?
can go back later and find out in the Old Testament.
No, what you're doing is you're comparing stuff.
And you've acknowledged that I had a better grasp of the Old Testament as well. So
So what? Just because
that's
I
the
would.
problem.
Okay, so I get it. Never give your ass a compliment because then you're just going to assume that makes you the master of something.
No,
Fine.
it
Nice
doesn't make
guess.
me a master. It doesn't make me a
I
master
did,
of anything. It just
but it
establishes
did.
the fact that I've read the Bible and you haven't.
And what have
At
you
least
gotten from it that I haven't? And what have you gotten that tells you so much that, and what did I leave out that was so important in the Old Testament? I mean, you've read it, so you should have all kinds of shit that I left out. And go ahead. I'm all ears. I got my headphones on.
I think it's a book where it's worse than Harry Potter. I'd rather read Harry Potter.
Everybody would rather read Harry Potter. That's fact. Now, what else about, what do you have about the Bible that's actually something that matters?
What do I have about the Bible that's actually something that
Excuse me.
matters?
What do you have that I left out that matters? That I don't understand about the Old Testament. You said that maybe
I
you read
don't
it, but
know,
you're
but
really a dumb American and you
I don't
don't
know
get it. So,
because the God that you're proposing has changed just in the time of this conversation
well, how has it
several times.
changed though? Because when you read the Old Testament, just like I said before, God doesn't give a fuck about us and He's not interfering. Now, at the beginning of the Old
That's
Testament,
not
yeah,
what the Old
He was
Testament that's not what the Old Testament says, because the Old Testament lays down 613 laws you need to abide by. So he pretty much
613.
so he preached oh, you didn't
Did
know
you say
that?
613? No, I've heard this a long time ago, and I laughed at it then, and I'm laughing at it. Yes, I know that you're not gonna. They don't have a list in the Bible that says Ten Commandments. That was
Actually,
people making it tonight.
actually they have three lists of 10 commandments.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And
Okay.
the one that is actually called the Ten Commandments in the Bible isn't the one that is put up all across the United States,
Yeah, yeah,
because that was the first set.
yeah. Yeah. I know that the Ten
And
Commandments are the oldest Ten
the
Commandments.
second set was the Ten Commandments, the one that says thou shalt not boil a goat in his mother's milk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
See?
Those yeah, yeah. People
Yeah.
like to ignore those, man. They don't like to bring those up.
And you can't eat shellfish and you can't have tattoos,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Those are in the
Hey, I don't have
613
any
laws
tattoos, brother. No,
that your God put in his book, supposedly to control people. But you now say that that's not even present.
no, 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 no.
So
Remember what we said, okay? God spoke to some people. They wrote it down. Whatever the fuck they chose to write may not have actually. It's a man writing and a woman writing. These are
yeah,
people. So
This God exists, but not when it's a little bit inconvenient for you, because then this God becomes just the guy that people have written about.
yeah, no, you're right. That is for
Yeah,
damn sure. That's my biggest problem. It's like,
he's the Christian God until it comes to a point where it's inconvenient for you to be the Christian God. Then he's just some guy people wrote about, and that's why you created a new one for yourself who is immaculate somehow, because
you
he
might be
follows you,
right. I mean,
because your
well,
God follows, because your God follows your rules and not his own.
yeah,
Pretty pathetic
but
God you got there.
well, my God's not pathetic. That's a terrible thing.
You should
But no,
read
I
more
think,
Marvel comics. I mean, there are better gods in Marvel comics.
well, yeah, of course, the gods in Marvel comics are awesome. But it could be, like maybe I'm one of those people that just really, really wants there to be a God. I mean, I just want there to be one, and so I don't like
Oh,
the
that'll
idea of
help.
denial.
That'll help.
And
That's
it could
real
be that.
science. That's real science right there.
Well, it's not proven false though. I mean, what you're talking about
I
is
want there to be a God, so therefore there's a God.
no, no, no. That's not. I'm not omnipotent. I can't just make a God happen. No, I just think that it also makes some sense that
You
there would be
can't make a
some
God
type of.
happen. Didn't you tell us you made one up?
No, no. I
So
said he's based on the Christian God, and my interpretation of my reading isn't. Look, it's all right. Let me
that's
just
accurate.
put it.
Your interpretation of your reading, because
Yeah,
you skimmed over
you don't know what I
the Old
skimmed over
Testament.
or not. But the thing is that you don't know what I skimmed. You don't know what I read. All right.
Well, you
You
denied that
have.
there are 613 commandments in the Old
I didn't
Testament.
deny.
So
Laughed
so
at it.
that's a clear
Why
acknowledgement
is
that you haven't read the Old
wait,
Testament,
wait, wait, wait,
because you
wait.
would have come across a couple of them.
Why is laughter a denial? What's wrong with you? I laughed because I heard it before. I told you that. I've heard this a long time ago, and I
Yeah.
laughed then
See,
because the sheer
can,
amount of
restate
commandments.
restate that again. Restate that again. You left because
Because the sheer number of
you
commandments is
heard it.
many.
You heard it, right?
Yeah, we're in Bible study. I went to
You
a
didn't
study
say
Bible.
you didn't say there you read it,
Did I read all 613
because
commandments?
I read it. I didn't hear
Then
it
all right,
from
system
someone. I
wide
read
then. Go
it.
ahead. 613. Let's do it. Go. Start. Number one. Go.
Why?
Well, you read it. You should have it all to your fucking memory. Would you calm down with that? People can't remember 613 commandments. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. People can't even remember
You don't need to remember.
16.
You don't need to
Oh,
remember them. You've got a Bible, don't you?
you think I carry a Bible around in my back pocket? I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not even. I mean,
Did I say you need to carry it around in your pocket? I said you
yeah.
own a Bible, right?
Well, why would I read something that I don't
Do you
necessarily
own a
believe?
Bible? Yes or no? It's a simple yes or no question.
Three Bibles, one in Spanish, my native
Great,
language.
great. One you can't read. So, do you need to remember
Wait,
those 600?
you're
Do you need to remember all of those 613 laws, or do you have the ability to look them up?
Oh, I see. All right, whatever. That's a stupid point. People have been making this dumbass point about the Bible for a long time. I mean, can't you come up with
do you
something
know
new?
all the laws that are currently in affection in the United States? Do you know all of them by heart? Can you
Of
list them for
course
me?
not. In the
Well,
United
why
States?
then ask me a stupid question to list the 613
Why
laws of the
come up with a
Bible?
thing like there's 613 if you can't back it up by saying it? Did I say, oh, there's this many amount of laws in?
Because they are in the Bible. It's a fact that you can go and
Well,
check
so what?
either
All
by
right.
reading, even by reading the Bible,
Well, okay, so
or just typing in on Google
big deal. Okay,
613 biblical laws, and you'll
and
get to
so
some
what?
kind of a website that will list you all 613
To what
biblical
end?
laws.
To what end? And what should that tell me? It should tell me the Bible's ridiculous. Is that what I should? What should I infer from the 613 laws? What should I learn that you,
I don't
Mr.
know.
Holland, top
Let's let's
five, learn from the
let's
Bible's
let's
613
let's
laws?
let's pick one. Thou shalt not eat shellfish. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
Well, I think that when the fucking Bible was written, whoever wrote that shit understood that people were getting sick from shellfish, and they wanted their fucking followers to not get sick. That's what I think.
Great. So God's not omnipotent.
God didn't write it himself. Are you fucking nuts? I mean, are you not listening to me? He told a person something, or one of his angels told a person something, and then that person wrote that shit down.
Angels. Angels exist?
I don't know, man. That's what the Bible says. We can't see them, so how the fuck do we know? They could be in another
I'm not
dimension.
asking what the Bible says. I'm asking what you believe. That was the question.
Oh,
And you
man.
now come up with
Look,
angels. So
when you
so
start talking about stuff that we can't see, then it gets tough to believe. It's as simple as that. God's gonna have to understand that. All right. I have difficulty just believing shit that can't be proven, or that an
you have
angel.
difficulty believing shit you can actually go check for yourself.
I can't
It's
check
worse
every
than
dimension.
it's
Whoa!
worse
You're
than
scientific. No, you're scientific. I can't check every dimension, right? There's 14 of them, right? I can't check them all. I am only in this one. The what? The fucking four-dimensional one?
there are 14 dimensions.
It depends on what type of. Ah, God, I shouldn't have said that because it was something that I just watched a little bit of, so I don't know enough about it. But there's whatever.
Oh,
There's more.
YouTube science. I love my YouTube science.
No. I might have to Google this to fucking make you not be a dick
Be
about it.
careful. Don't go to the flat Earth videos. You'll end up a
No, I
lot
didn't
more
learn it
stupid
for
than you
that.
are now.
I believe it's mathematical dimensions, if I'm not mistaken. So you could Google it, but I think it's that. Anyway, I don't know enough about it. Anyway, though, all I'm saying to you is this: if science says there's other dimensions, you can pick how many you want. The point is this: if there's angels in the other fucking
No, you
dimension and they
can't.
can come to this
No,
one,
you
then how
can't.
would you even know?
No, you can't.
You
Because
can't what?
science doesn't make up shit.
It doesn't.
They describe what they can actually observe, test, and to establish to be actually true.
Even the theoretical mathematicians and the theoretical astronomers and the theoretical scientists, they test.
And do we get facts from theoretical scientists?
No, you wipe. We don't.
Okay. See, you're learning. That's why it's called theoretical.
Well, that's what. Well, people are listening to a little bit too much of that bullshit. They need to understand
Yeah.
what these are.
String theory is theoretical. No one has been able to prove it. It's not a theory as such. It's just an
Yeah.
idea
Well, the theory of how.
that may or may not be proven correct in future. It's a
Well, the same thing goes with
it's a thought experiment.
the same thing goes with how the theory of how gravity affects everything in the universe. That's not proven.
No, it's not.
It's really only proven
I
here on
bet
Earth.
you have a Zippo lighter. I bet if you hold it up and you let go, it doesn't fall to the earth.
That's the stupidest, dumbass explanation for gravity I've ever heard. And you're supposed to be top five.
That's a 100% accurate demonstration of
It's a
gravity.
demonstration of what goes up comes down. Get the fuck out of here. I'm talking about how gravity affects
How does it
and
come
moves.
down? How does it come down then?
Okay,
If
the
not, if
lighter is
it's
heavier than the air. Wait. The lighter is heavier than the air.
heavier regarding to what?
If I blow out a puff of smoke, it floats up because it's lighter than air. If I drop a fucking lighter, it drops to something solid because it's heavier than the air. Why is that so hard to just comprehend?
Why is something heavy? What's the
It
meaning
has
of
more
heavy?
mass. It has more
No,
mass, you
no, mass and weight are something completely different.
Okay, it has more density. The atoms are tightly packed, making it dense.
Well, there's one thing that's dense in this
Oh, so I'm wrong about
conversation.
that? I'm wrong for
Yeah,
saying that I'm
yeah,
wrong, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
then give me your
You're wrong.
explanation then. Give me your explanation.
It's gravity that pulls it down.
Why doesn't it pull the smoke from the weed I'm smoking down.
Do you know what happens if you drop a feather and a bowling ball in a vacuum?
They fall at the same. Everyone knows that, but
Which is
there's a
denser?
vacuum.
Which is denser?
The bowling ball is denser, fine, and it's also bigger and more massive. If you want to
If the
use
bowling
massive.
ball is denser, why doesn't it fall faster?
Wait a minute. Let's just talk about a fucking vacuum. I thought you said we don't know if there's vacuums or not in space. So what the hell are you talking about?
You're talking about dense. I'm trying to explain to you, who is
In
as
a
dense
vacuum, you're trying to explain it
as
to me.
I've come
No,
across
you're
so
trying to
far.
explain in a vacuum, and that's not what we live in. We don't live in a fucking
You
vacuum.
say things drop because of density. If the bowling ball is denser than a feather, then how come a bowling ball falls at the same rate in a vacuum
Well, yeah, that's
than a
where you're.
feather?
That's your explanation of gravity.
It's suddenly not dense anymore.
There's no air around it to hold the feather
When
up.
does the density change when it goes from a normal atmosphere to a vacuum? What happens to the density?
When does that happen?
According to you, it happens because
No,
you
when
just
does it?
said
I never said a vacuum pops up out of nowhere making feathers and bowling balls fall. You said that.
you just said if you blow smoke, it goes up, and if you
Yeah,
drop a bowling ball, it goes down, and that's
I
because
said
of
if you drop a
density.
lighter, you said bowling ball. You came
That's
up with bowling ball. That's your
that's
thing. You're the
okay.
bowling ball guy. I'm not the
Okay,
bowling ball guy.
let's go. Let's stick with the lighter. The lighter was more dense, you said.
Yeah, orange
Yeah,
Zippo. That's what I'm using, by the way.
yeah,
It's denser than the air around it, is what I said.
yeah.
The same thing happens in a vacuum. There's no air, so they fall. There's no resistance. But yes, I get what you're saying. The reason they fall at the
No,
same rate is because
you don't get.
gravity's pulling on them
Hmm.
and it pulls things down at the same rate. I understand what you're saying, man.
I very much
I
doubt it.
said what I said to you is how gravity works in the universe. And you come
Yes,
and tell me how shit works on Earth. What the fuck
yeah.
are you what's wrong with you?
Gravity works in the universe the same thing. In the same way it works on Earth. You know how?
Uh
Do you know how we know this?
I don't know because you said, oh yeah,
Do you
because
know?
it's a
Do
short
you know how we
atmosphere.
can observe this?
How? Go
Do
tell
you
us
know
again.
how you can observe this?
How can I observe it?
Go outside and look up during the night.
Oh, all my answers will be yeah, yeah. I think you know what? You think I'm one of those people?
Have you seen the moon?
No.
You haven't seen the moon.
What? Come on, man. We have moons, and the moon comes to America, bro.
What
Not
shape
just Holland.
what shape is the moon?
Oh, we must be a circle if the moon's a circle. Oh, yeah, of course.
The moon's not a circle.
It's a fucking circle.
No, it's not.
What is it?
A circle is two-dimensional. You knew that, right?
You're damn straight. That's why I chose the word circle.
Oh, so the moon is not is not a sphere?
You think the moon's a fucking ball?
Well, we can see it because we can
We see
see
one face of it. We see
we
one
can
face.
see no we don't see one face. We see a little
Oh,
bit
thanks
more.
to
We see a
Einstein. No,
little
no, no.
bit.
I didn't
We
take any
see a little
credit.
bit. We see a little bit more than just one face. You have never
Oh
looked up
yeah,
to the
yeah,
moon?
yeah. Because the moon bends light around it, so we can see an extra 40%. Not you. You see that same thing when you look up.
No, you don't.
Oh God. Here we go. So you're seeing a different moon? That's pretty spectacular because
No, I'm not
NASA's
seeing a
not seeing
different
it.
moon. People have looked, and you
They've
can
looked
see than half of the moon because you can see a little bit around the corner because it wobbles.
around the corner.
Yeah.
There's corners on our fucking
So
ball.
sometimes you see a little bit more on the left side of the moon. Sometimes you see a little bit more on the right side of the moon. Pretty much gives you an idea that it's a sphere because
No, no. All you
if
need
it's
to
two
no, all
dimensional if
thing
it's
is
two
man.
dimensional if it's two dimensional you couldn't add stuff to the left or the right at any
If
given
it's
point.
convex, you can, my friend. It's not that big
No,
of
if
a
it's
deal.
convex, you can't either.
Why?
because you would see the clear boundaries and you couldn't look past the boundaries. That only can happen in a sphere.
What can only happen with a sphere? No, I mean that's fine.
To turn it
I don't
and
know
to
what the hell you're
see
talking
more,
about, but
and to turn it a little bit and see more of the surface.
where's the back of
If
it
you hold a
expanding?
ball, if you hold a ball in front of you and you slightly tilt it to the left or the right, you can see more of the surface of the ball on one side and a little less on the other side. That's what's
And what if
happening. That's what's happening to the moon, but you're not
I
even
haven't
aware of.
looked at it? I'm not as smart as you. All right, man, whatever. So all right, so let's say that it can't be a ball that's like flat on the
I
back,
think I think
like
this
how small like
conversation
a
is
ball
getting
shape.
dumber and dumber. I mean, next thing that you're going to say is that we haven't landed on the moon. I mean,
And
how
then
can
next
you
thing you're
land?
gonna say is that
How can you land on a two-dimensional thing that doesn't even
no, that's
have substance? A circle doesn't have substance. It's two-dimensional.
what?
The
What do you mean
very
there's not
the
a
very
substance?
You said it's a circle. A circle doesn't have
Yeah,
substance. A circle
it
doesn't have
doesn't.
matter. No, it
It
doesn't.
doesn't. What are you
No,
talking
because
about?
you would need a third dimension to actually have matter.
I said it's convex. The
A
flat back of it
circle,
gives you the.
a circle is an abstract idea.
Oh Jesus Christ! Who sent you this tweet to try and like catch me on some kind of semantics? Listen, I don't fucking know if the moon's a circle or not, but you don't either. That's all I'm saying.
I
I don't
do
know if it's
know.
a
I
ball.
do know
You
because
bought the ball there.
I've bothered to look at the
No,
damn
you're
thing.
right. We've been there. Me and you, we've been there. Right? We've been to the moon. I mean, we went there 7 times, 11 astronauts. We did it. You're not even a fucking American, you Holland ass. You didn't do shit but sit in your whack ass country while Americans went to the fucking moon. So
Yeah.
fuck you.
Mhm. I'm still going with human
Yeah, you're
beings
still going
instead.
with American knowledge. America told your country we went to the fucking moon, and your country's
At
gonna believe it
at the moment, American knowledge is
because
abysmal.
your fucking country's not.
Americans need to
Where's the
get their
Holland?
science
Where's the
from
Dutch
other
astronauts?
countries. Need to get their scientists from other
When are the
countries.
fucking Dutch going to the moon? They're so smart. Why don't they make a spaceship and go to the moon and make another fucking Holland up there? New
We have
Holland, they
to,
could call it.
okay. We're two
Because
Dutch
the Dutch are too
astronauts.
fucking stupid to get to the moon.
We have
They're too
two
fucking stupid.
Dutch
Your whole country's
we
stupid as
have
fuck, and you
two
can't get
Dutch
to the moon.
astronauts. Can you name them?
They were fucking. They had to go through America to get there. They didn't fucking fly out to
No, they
Holland or no
didn't
nothing,
go
man.
through America to get there. You're so stupid. You think that only
How did they get?
American
Wait.
has a
You have
space
two.
program. You don't. You're so stupid. You don't even know that America has the worst space program at
Yet
this
we're the only
moment.
ones that went to the moon. We're the
At
only ones that
this
went to the moon.
moment.
That's hilarious. You motherfuckers have had 50 years to get to the moon, and you sorry asses can't. Get the fuck out of here.
Why
You're
would
not
we
that
go
smart.
to the moon? It
You
has
can't.
been
That's
done.
why you wouldn't. You can't. Your country ain't going to the fucking moon. You ain't going to the moon. That's a fact. You
Your
sorry
country isn't
motherfuckers are
going.
so
Is your
smart you can't
country
even
going
get
to?
to the moon.
Is your country going to the moon?
When we feel like it, we already been there. Your country's sorry asses haven't been there. And we'll kick your ass in the Olympics.
I think we've come to a point where you're actually too dumb to talk to. And
No, I'm telling you
so,
facts. Did Holland, wait,
yes.
did Holland launch a fucking spacecraft to
So
the
I'd
moon?
like
You
to
put out?
thank
No, you
everyone
didn't.
in the
No, you
chat.
didn't. You didn't do
We'll have
shit.
an after show after this because a lot of people have asked me for an after show. I'll do an after show after this. I think Israel has now disqualified himself as a thinking human being. Period.
All your knowledge
I
about the
mean,
moon came from my country. My country
I
told you
had a
motherfuckers what
couple
the
of
moon's
stupid
about.
people on this show. I actually had a guy who told me that dinosaurs were the result of the Nephilim breeding with lizards.
And Holland's never been to
And
the moon.
I'll make a statement right here that Israel is dumber than that guy is. I've
And Holland is
never met.
stupider than
I've never met anyone as dumb as Israel. So
Holland is the dumbest
I'd
fucking
like
country.
to thank everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and we'll have
we had 1960
another
technology
show.
went to the moon, and sorry ass Holland can't get to the moon. That's what I'm talking about. You talk about the moon and your country can't go there.
So we'll have another conversation later on this week. I think that we're going to have on a Dutch guy.
And he can talk about how
already agreed to come on Wednesday. So if you want to tune in, you're happy to tune in. Israel turned out to be just a troll, someone who's too dumb to talk to, as far as I'm concerned. So everyone, thanks for coming. I'll go to Twitter, hook me up on Twitter, and I can get you a link for the after show where we can discuss how stupid this guy actually was, because although it was a little bit of fun, I think the fun has worn out right now. Thanks all for coming, and see you all later. Bye-bye.